All right, let's move on to talk about Rip Ride Rocket.
Okay.
And potentially might be replacing it. So first we'll talk about Rip Ride Rocket. Of course, last day to ride it is today.
That giant red roller coaster that spans from the beginning or from the front of the park to the back of the park.
Yes. It is last
so big.
Yeah, last day to ride that. And of course, there is a replacement coming. Universal hasn't said what it is in typical Universal fashion. They kind of don't do this. And likely we won't know what is replacing Rip Ride Rocket until probably, I'd say halfway through the construction, if I were to guess in typical Universal fashion. But I did a video on this on the Captain Magic YouTube channel, but talking about what might be replacing this. We do have some information on this. A lot of this I got from Orlando Park Stop, Alicia Stella, kind of digging through permits here.
Okay.
I've also heard, so there was speculation that it could be Ghostbusters. As you had that sign show up in front of the firehouse, which is where Ghostbusters used to have their show there. So
like another roller coaster?
That was part of the speculation. It could have been an Easter egg about what could be coming there.
Okay.
From what I have been hearing, and again, this is just, I will say it's just speculation and rumor, but I have heard some people in and around Universal, let's just say, that more than likely what is going to be replacing Rip Ride Rocket is going to be some sort of East Coast version of Fast and Furious. Because they're getting the Fast and Furious coaster out on the West Coast, Hollywood Drift.
Oh.
And more than likely, it's going to be Fast and Furious also replacing this one. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a drift coaster, but I have heard that's likely what it's going to be. As well as you could have, the sign could be there because you could have a Ghostbusters meet and greet in their old firehouse. That would be kind of adjacent.
Oh, okay.
Now, we do know they have, I mean, even up until a month, maybe 2 months ago, they've already started like prep work. Clearing land and things around City Walk of what is going to be coming to replace Rip Ride Rocket. So they've actually have already started construction on some level. They just haven't started dismantling the ride yet.
Right.
Which will start I'm not going to be surprised by tomorrow if you already see some major progress on them tearing that down.
They work fast.
They work very fast
over at Universal.
They work very fast. But the exciting thing to me, I had talked about, I think, if you saw Ghostbusters come in, I do think Universal, and I've been saying this for months, that I would love to see some of these retro IPs come back to the park. Back to the Future, Ghostbusters could be one of them. So I think there is an appetite for it. And given you look at the Universal UK park, that is very likely at this point to look like they're going to have a Back to the Future area over there. And they've been featuring, these retro properties during the summer, especially the Mega Movie Summer Parade, Sensational, the merchandise sales, and really Fan Fest as well was really retro heavy with Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Now, the good thing to me, I actually liked this scenario before because if it was going to be Ghostbusters replacing Rip Ride Rocket, that means Supercharged likely wasn't going to go anywhere.
Okay.
As that is an often panned ride. I mean, even remember that one time we took a survey and they asked us what is our least favorite ride? And before we could even answer, they said, besides Supercharged, we know exactly where that stands. So Universal is very aware of kind of where Supercharged sets. And it really, even on busy days, it's almost a walk-on. Like it's just, and last year they shut it down it was closed for like 2 months during Halloween Horror Nights even.
It closes every year for Halloween Horror Nights, yeah.
So potentially, and this next part is pure speculation and rumor. So the rumor out there, this actually comes from Lynn Testa.
So this is, before you say it, this is supposing that this is turning into the Tokyo Drift. Is it Tokyo Drift?
No, it's not Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
It's just,
Sorry, that's the name of the movie.
That is the name of a Fast and Furious movie. One of the 36 movies that they have.
Okay, right. So if this turns into a Fast and Furious coaster and replacing Rip Ride Rocket, now this is the rumor, right?
Right. So this is all kind of rumor here. So the big rumor, again, I've heard in and around Universal that Fast and Furious will be replacing Rip Ride Rocket. Some sort of East Coast version of that. Okay. And there are permits out there talking about the buildings can be constructed. And I've even talked about before, Fast and Furious is a West Coast property. The movies take place in LA for the most part. And this is going in the New York section, but they can get around that, I'm sure, if they wanted to. But again, that's what I've heard. So if that is going to be Fast and Furious replacing Rip Ride Rocket, that means that Supercharged almost undoubtedly will be going away because they're not going to have two Fast and Furious properties in the same park.
Would they?
Well, especially given it's not like Supercharged is like, high demand ride.
It's like one's in San Francisco, one's in New York. Like, hey,
right
over here.
Now, and I think they do want to have Fast and Furious represented in the parks. I think a lot of people don't like Fast and Furious, but it makes money. A lot of it overseas, but it is a property Universal owns, so it makes sense that they do want it represented in the parks.
Right.
So I would argue if Fast and Furious is going to replace the roller coaster, that makes a lot of sense. A high-speed roller coaster being, after Fast and Furious, that's a pretty good compromise, I would say. And especially this next part, if it's true. So if that scenario is accurate, Lynn Testa had, I think it was on the WDW Magic forums, had said, and if you don't know who Lynn Testa is, he's been around theme parks for decades. He owns touring plans. He's pretty well connected. He says what he has heard is that the roller coaster is going to be Fast and Furious, and then that would mean Supercharged would be replaced with a Back to the Future retro ride. I would be absolutely on board 1,000%. If we can trade Supercharged for Back to the Future and let the new coaster be Fast and Furious, I think that's a pretty good scenario if that were to happen.
Well, you don't have to guess how I feel about that.
Well, I was going to say, I figured you would be like giddy right now.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? If that actually happened, see, I'm trying to manage my expectations here.
Of course.
I don't want to get too excited because right now it's just a rumor.
Right.
But it's one of those rumors where you just like really want it to happen. And I know there's a lot of people that, okay, there's a lot of people that like Simpsons. Simpsons is fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's okay.
But there's a lot of people that miss the original Back to the Future ride that would really like to see this happen in somewhere else. Even if it's not replacing going back to what it was before Simpsons, like let's do something new. But again, I don't know. What do you?
Well, there is some evidence I think that supports it. I've been saying, I think retro properties would be a very unique thing to do for Universal Studios.
Yeah.
Because if you look like FanFest that happened out in Universal Hollywood, talking to the Orange Grove 55 guys, theme park conductor, the Back to the Future part of that whole event was the headlining most popular part of it.
For sure.
And so if Universal is looking at where this property stands, I think you look at FanFest nights. I think you look at the overall merchandise sales. I think those are very strong from what I have heard talking about Back to the Future, featuring in the parade, featuring in Sensational. They still have Doc Brown walking around. Like it still is a very, I would say, fan favorite. I don't know if you'd call it a cult classic, but it still has a fan base and people really enjoy those movies after all this time has gone on.
Yeah.
So I think I've been saying for a while, if any theme park company was going to do a retro IP attraction, I do think it would be Universal. And if you've already seen that they're going to do it in the UK, it does make sense they would do it in the US. Because I didn't know this, but apparently the Back to the Future musical is very popular in the UK.
Yes, it is.
Which is why at the time I was like, why would they put it in the UK? And then a bunch of people on the YouTube channel were like, oh, it's massively popular over here because of the musical. I would also argue it's way more popular in the US than it is in the UK. So if you're going to do it in one park, it would make sense to do it in another one. And also given the issue you have on the studio side, not Islands of Adventure, but Universal Studios, is the limited space you have. Because originally this was like a working studio. So you don't have room to put massive attractions all over the place like you do, say, at Epic or maybe at Islands of Adventure. So you have limited space. So a updated simulator type of ride, very nostalgic of what was there before, but updated and newer, would also make sense given the space constraints.
Well, however, Supercharged is huge. It's a huge footprint in that park. It
is. I think comparing it to, say, the footprint of some looking at say Epic Universe rides, it's not as big as those necessarily, but you're not wrong. Oh my gosh,
though, the queue for Supercharged, like it's a garage,
right? There's a lot of.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, this has got to happen then.
Well, I think
need this to happen.
Listen, who knows if that's true? I hope it's true. It makes a lot of sense to me, and this is something I've been on for months that I want them to do. So I'm 1,000% on board with this. I think it would be a huge hit.
I think could really play into like the 50s era.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like you could play into that. And then, I mean, at the same time, if they do that and let's say you have the Ghostbusters meet and greet, you could also see them, not that every retro, IP would get a ride or an attraction, but you could see like a Beetlejuice show like they used to have as well. That Fear Factor building's just sitting empty. Yeah, well, they use it for Halloween Horror Nights, but that doesn't mean during non-Halloween Horror Nights you could turn that into some sort of show that could feature retro IPs. Maybe. So you could see much more of that. On top of there's also the rumor about Pokemon coming in to replace Simpsons. But just speaking on this one,
bring it on.
Right.
Bring it on.
I agree. I'm not. And we do know Simpsons is going to go away because now that Disney owns it, that contract is up in 2028. So I don't think Disney would renew it, and nor do I think Universal wants to renew it because I just don't think The Simpsons, it's just not as relevant as it once was.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense. If they can put Pokemon in there, that would be a massive draw compared to, say, Simpsons.
That's
so
right.
that would be a win.
Guys, okay, let's make it happen, guys.
Yeah.
Get Back to the Future in there.
Yeah. So
do this.
If this scenario plays out where Fast and Furious is the coaster, which I think some people would be disappointed by, I think the consolation there or the trade-off would be if you do get some Back to the Future and where Supercharged is, I think that would be a win. Now, regardless, if it is going to be Fast and Furious as a replacement for Rip Ride Rocket, something will happen with Supercharged. Again, they're not going to leave that, especially where, again, how it is and everything like that. So we will find out at some point from Universal. I don't think it's going to be necessarily this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear about what's replacing this until maybe sometime in 2026. But I'm hopefully optimistic that this scenario plays out. And I actually think I've also been, again, nobody's saying anything specifically, but as I've been saying for a while, I think Universal is going to be very, very aggressive in the next decade, undoubtedly, looking at what they're doing not only with Epic, but you look at the kids resort they're building in Texas, which they're likely to do more of those. You look at the Horror Unleashed, they just opened in Vegas. They're opening another one in Chicago. I did a video, and I've seen in my videos recently on the Cap the Magic channel that I think Universal is going to be very aggressive. And I had a couple of team members that, without giving me specifics, said, you're definitely on the right track in terms of the aggressiveness of what Universal is going to do and the things that they're going to announce in the near future.
Oh.
So I think Rip Ride Rocket may be the first of many attraction announcements coming to, for sure, Universal Studios. I think that park needs the most help in terms of attractions, as Islands of Adventure has gotten, Hagrid's, they've gotten Velocicoaster for the last few years. So you definitely need more things to do in the OG Universal Studios park. So I think the bulk of the announcements will be revolving around that. So if you look at that, if you get the Rip Ride Rocket replacement, if you get the Supercharged replacement, and you get the Pokemon area going in, those are three major things that would be coming to Universal Studios Florida. I also think I don't know in terms of the timeline specifically, but I do think there will be more things coming to Epic Universe sooner than people anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that. Islands, I suppose they're the main thing you may be looking at there would be whatever happens in Lost Continent.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see a lot of these things coming sooner rather than later at some point.
Well, yeah, just looking at a Google Earth view of Islands, it looks like it may be closer to like half and half. It looks like they're about the same size when you kind of draw a line. I know people, listening can't see what I'm doing, but Jared can. Do you know what I mean? About right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to see more. I would like to see something done with Lost Continent. I would like to see something done with Supercharged.
Yeah.
Rip Ride Rocket, I've rode it one time in my life. Not sad to see it go. So I'm excited for all of the new stuff coming. Now, obviously Epic has, it's done for now. Obviously it's going to be, but for right now, they haven't announced anything officially. What I'm saying.
Right.
So they're not building a brand new park again, like in the next 5 years, at least that we know of.
Probably not.
So they can start addressing these things that have just been sitting.
Well, and it also makes sense to add more things to the other parks, considering if you're expecting more people to be coming in, which I think is in the midst of happening and will continue to happen because of Epic Universe. Having things for people to want to check out in the other parks makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
To do that.
Sure.
So, yeah, I definitely think there's now whether or not all the things we're talking about here come to fruition. Obviously, this is all speculation and rumor. And like I said, the scenario we're laying or potential out there of laying out, I am completely on board with. And I would love to see Back to the Future, like a Kuka arm simulator, whatever can put me in a DeLorean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for.
Yep. Same.
And I know some people aren't big on if it's a simulator. Some people are sick of simulators. But I think if you look at what they've done with Epic with those high def screens, maybe some animatronics, you could do something high end, unique that isn't like your typical simulator type of attraction. They could do something a little bit more immersive, I suppose. Because I don't know where. I'm sure there's been leaps and bounds in terms of the tech when it comes to those types of rides out there now. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that's all the. I guess that would be the rumor speculation segment. But I think it's pretty exciting stuff.
It very much is.
Yeah, regardless.
Very exciting.